And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Olympian Table. And this is Stephen Williams, Stephen the Olympian. Sorry we're a bit late today. We've had some technical issues that we've had to address.
Are we really late though? I mean, it's one of those things where.
What I'd like to feel we could actually be on time.
Oh yeah, for once, right? Just a little bit.
And how you doing, my buddy James Lee?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Can't complain. Just trying to get the dials moving, man. You know how it goes. This business is one of those type where you gotta stick with it, but you hang on in there until whatever else happens. So I'm looking forward to the
James
summer.
Lee Loans doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. No complaints.
Then you're building your team. I seen you had some people in yesterday.
Yeah. I got some newbies starting, so no complaints
Was
in
she
that.
training yesterday? Was she?
Doing some training
Was
yesterday.
a new face in the office? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are, working to build a team going into the summertime, just trying to make sure that everything is moving in the right direction.
And you're always looking for people to sort of.
Oh yeah,
join your team?
well not.
Do you look?
I say
do you look-
always.
Do you look for people who have a bit of experience?
That's a plus, but I'm not against taking a new person as well because you don't have to make them unlearn old tricks. You kind of train them the way you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they can learn that stuff and then they can end up leaving you, going somewhere else. But it's all part of the business. No complaints in it, so it is what it is. Get that max volume on here. But yeah. So we're just kind of testing it out with some of the newbies. I got a mixture of some experience, some new in there. We just kind of see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. And you got people that speak different languages, haven't you? You got what was the Asian girl?
Yeah, she's still around.
Is she Chinese, Vietnamese?
All of it.
Oh, really?
She's actually Chinese, but born and raised in Venezuela. Believe it or not.
Really?
So she's
because it makes a difference.
She's fluent in Spanish and Mandarin and Cantonese. All of it. Yeah, it's amazing to watch her work because she goes between the different dialects.
She's dedicated. And that's time I've been in, and she's sort of gone above and beyond. And I hadn't seen the lady yesterday. It was a new face in the office, and I thought, well, I might as well ask you that on the podcast.
Yeah.
So you're always looking for good people?
Looking for good people that want to work, that can hustle, because this is not an easy business.
Right.
Much like
and it's not working with real estate agents.
Hey, man. Yeah, it's not an easy business, but if you want to do it and make a good living doing it, then it's definitely worth it. The struggle is real, though. It is real. When it's good, it's great. When it isn't, it is not. So, but we're in one of those cycles right now. We're just kind of in the between. Schools just got out, so people are going to be looking for homes. So I'm excited to see kind of what's coming on the forefront with it. So we'll see how it goes.
So anyway, we've done our list today. Mr. Everett there in the back. I don't know if you've got it through your email. We've done it. So let's put that link up on the screen first, and let's get
this first one.
The first one, yeah. The NRA event in Houston. First of all, I know James thinks it's a good thing to get the NRA event. I personally don't feel too good about the tension that it causes because different people have different opinions, but it's always good to get the city out there in all fairness.
Well, here's my thing. The timing, of course, is not optimal.
With Uvalde, I agree.
But it was already planned. This isn't something that they planned after this happened. This is something.
Let's have a shooting and let's have an NRA rally.
Exactly. This was already planned. This is something that was there. Now, I don't know. It was a live feed on there. And quite frankly, the people that I was able to hear speak, they were all good speeches. They were good speeches. Ted Cruz had a few things to say. And really, he can, he's kind of a maverick. You don't know what he may say, as well as President Trump. You never know what he might say, but I thought it was in very good taste. He named and called out. They had a moment of silence, and they called out every name of the victims of that Uvalde shooting, and had a little moment of silence. And they rang the bell after each name, and funny enough, he pronounced all the names correctly. But what he had to say, I thought made a lot of sense. He wasn't kind of off the cuff. He wasn't his normal shoot from the hip kind of President Trump as he usually is. It seems like he kind of felt what was going on with it. So, good speech. I think it made a lot of good sense because we do need to beef up security at the schools. And you can't get into an airport to save your life. Right now, if you try to run through an airport, they would tackle you and hog tie you and take you to the back. You couldn't do it. But in a school, not so much. Why is that the case?
Why do you think some of the GOP leaders, such as Texas Governor Greg Abbott, opted out of attending the meeting?
Well, I think Governor Abbott is already, of course, he's running for re-election, but I think the most important thing for him, and I don't know if he didn't go. I thought he was supposed to speak there. So you're saying that he didn't go?
No. He actually opted out not to attend the meeting.
Well, it was probably. I mean, it's his state that has this crisis going on. So it was probably
how it
a
actually
better
reads
look.
on CNBC is other prominent Republicans, including Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, joined Trump at the NRA's annual meeting. Some other GOP leaders, such as Texas Governor Greg Abbott, opted out of attending in person.
Yeah, it was probably more important for him to just be down in Uvalde, or at least somewhere where he can work on that investigation, because it's important to understand what happened, where were the holes in the security for that school, because it's pretty ridiculous if you ask me.
And one of the things that, if you sort of read the article that I'm doing, and we've all spoke about, the media,
That area, but I think outside of that, we also have more guns. There's more guns here.
and you see, that's my sort of feeling on general gun control. And I'm not going to say who I was talking to, because this particular person did not want to be mentioned on our podcast. But this particular person works as an educator. Well, the way corporate America works.
Got you.
And I was talking to this one person who works in an educational environment. And they were saying that part of the problem is, in America today, and I think this is a good point, by the way, is, I said to this particular person about the problem in Uvalde. Well, and I mentioned something that you said. You said it's up to the parents to control the kids, and to have that speak with them and everything else. She said, but the problem is the teachers have got no control over the kids in the classes. They can't do anything. They can't even touch them.
Exactly.
If they touch the kids. And then this particular person also made the comment. She says some of the parents that she meets can't control the family. They've got issues themselves. They've got issues themselves where they need to go to mental counselling.
That may be true.
And so, and it's a little bit, the way I feel about the gun control is a little bit like the rabbit's out the hat. At what point does it stop? Because I don't think there's any. That's the problem. There's no way really of stopping it. Because the rabbit's out the hat.
You mean more gun laws won't stop it?
I don't.
It won't. I think you're 100% right.
Guns will just go underground. It'll just go underground, and it'll become. It's a little bit like the marijuana problem.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's a legal issue, and then what makes it more complicated in the States is there's, you've got multiple states. So multiple states have got different laws, and all they do exactly what happened. The guy that happened at the supermarket came in. I think it was from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Came in from Pennsylvania, and just takes it over state lines.
Right.
So there's so many aspects to the problem. It really makes you think that how the heck do you handle this?
Well, I have an idea. Nobody asked me, but I will say the school, I believe, is in Indiana, and this school is equipped with a security system like no other that I've ever seen, and it is. There's buttons in every classroom. Alert systems. So if one teacher, you're on one side of the school, I'm on the other side of the school. If I see something, I can hit my button and the alert goes off. It locks the entire school down. It alerts the police. And then there's what they call hot zones. So let's say the guy gets in the hallway and he's running, trying to get out. It will literally shoot out these smoke hot zones where you can't see. And it almost kind of blocks him in while the cops are on the way to get there. So they spent this money on securing this school to make sure that, these aren't problems. And some of the teachers, or I would say professionals, are armed. They're not just waiting on the police to get there. Because you and I both know with the whole defund the police thing, we lost some police officers. So they don't have the manpower that they used to have in some of these police teams, shall I say. So Uvalde is a small town. I mean, less than 20,000 people. So they probably don't have a really large police department, which is why the border patrol is there as well to help with some of that stuff. But I think the money goes into securing the school. Spend the money to put some security in the schools. If you can secure a freaking airport, you can secure a school. Airports are ginormous. Bush Intercontinental Airport is huge. Mm-hmm. Chicago O'Hare Airport is huge. The Newark Airport is gigantic. JFK, they are huge airports, but they are secured to the nines. So you can secure a little elementary school. Now, here's one point that your boy said in his speech, and this is President Trump. And he said, I didn't know this before. He said, but the inner city schools are more secure than schools outside of the inner city. He said it's outside the school, it may be dangerous because they're in areas where, there's violence taking place, but inside those schools, they have metal detectors. They have police officers on site. So if you can do it in inner city schools, why can't you do it in other schools? And I totally agree with him.
I do too, but I think there needs to be if you're going to do that, I think it needs to be done throughout the nation.
Absolutely.
As a standard, as a requirement.
How about we don't send $40 billion to Ukraine and let's pump some money into these school systems that need it to protect them?
Well, I don't quite agree with you on that.
Well, you may not, but that's a better use.
But I agree that we need to put money into there needs to be resolution to me on the whole gun thing.
But we agree the resolution is not more gun laws. It's got to be action.
I don't think there can ever be gun control in America. And you know at times how nutty I've told you that I think Americans are nutty. You know, they really are. They're more, there's more mental health issues. I mean, I'll never forget whenever it was watching, you know, the shooting at, is it A&M on the tower when I was a kid.
Oh, UT. Yeah.
You know, thinking, Christ, what's that? You know, I mean, when I went to school, I know it was a different era and a different age, but there was no guns in the school, you know. Now we're talking about arming teachers, and I think that in itself is an issue. But, you know, when we talk about mental health, I think a part of that money, I think, needs to go to healthcare, because I think healthcare is terrible in this country. Indeed. You know, regardless what you say about it being free, it's not free in Europe. Emergency care is. But at the same time, I think America have dug their own hole. I really do. I think you've dug your own hole, because as soon as the rabbit's out the bag regarding guns, it'll never stop. And I personally feel, whether it's your Second Amendment right or not, there's people that have made millions of dollars out of this whole thing. And the NRA are one of the strongest lobbying groups out there. And I really feel that that's the biggest problem with America. That's why I think you're nuts, because you've got these big companies that are lobbying the corrupt politicians, and that's what they are, corrupt politicians. Whether they're Democrats, we're going to talk about, you know, a little bit what I told you about, you know, earlier on, whether they're Democrats or they're Republicans. I want some politicians out there that aren't taking a penny from all these lobbyists.
Well, that's what they do. That's how they make their money.
You know,
that's how they become millionaires.
Honestly, I just think it's totally wrong, because we're all being played.
We are, and
we're all pawns in the game.
Isn't it interesting that two of the largest lobbying groups in the country have the same initials, just switched around?
NRA is one of them. Who's the other one?
The National Association of Realtors. Interesting enough, same letters, just to switch around.
You know.
But yeah, that I think we agree on more points than we disagree on that.
Yeah, no, I just think I'm a real estate agent, broker, whatever, but I do think that the lobbyists should come out of the whole thing.
That money, man.
You know.
It's that money for sure.
All I know is when I pay my Houston Association of Realtors, I do not contribute to the lobbying.
The lobbying?
No, I won't on principle, because I really feel that it's affecting, you know, society, and I don't want. I think it just adds to corruption personally. Yeah. And then the next item is Republicans and Democrats spar over gun regulation after Texas school shooting.
Well, that's all kind of in that same bubble. They do. Everybody has their reasons. Backwards and forth. Let's see.
And you know what hit me about this particular thing is, why should they spar over why should they spar over gun regulation? I mean, and I think there's regulation at the moment. You explain to me how somebody goes and gets a gun at the moment. So you want to go out there and buy a gun. All right. What's the first step you do?
Well, I got to go and pick it and go over to Bass Pro Shops. Let's say I want to buy one. I pick one up. Tell them I want to buy it. I have to complete a fairly extensive form so they can do a background check.
And that's sent to the FBI.
And that's sent to the FBI to make sure that I'm not a felon or on record as having, you know, mental health issues. And if I'm cleared, then I can go. But sometimes you have to wait a few days.
So if we look at that process that you just said, there is a degree of gun control at the moment.
Correct. It is.
Right. So, but that's what I'm saying. That's the misconception with people.
They just think you just go get it.
Just go buy a gun
Right.
and pay for it and take it out the store. So there is a level of gun control at the moment.
Right.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, to your point, the misconception, right? You know who can go and do that without any of that stuff taking place? Criminals. So if you change gun laws thinking that that's going to help it, it's not, because they're still going to be able to get it.
They just go to the local end of the street.
There you go.
Buy a gun from.
There you go.
A black bag.
Now, I will say this. With the catalog of what they said this young man had, I think that should probably be something that could be, okay, well, he's 18, he's buying 350 rounds, he's already bought one AR-15 here, and then he's going to get another one. It's like, okay, well, okay. What is he doing?
So do you think a loophole in the system is gun shows?
I don't think it's a loophole, because even
there's no gun check.
Well, at the gun shows, when I bought my gun at the gun show, I had to give them my information on it. I don't think they're not running a FBI check per se, but typically you don't have criminals going into gun shows because everybody's armed.
How'd you know that?
Typically, I said,
if a criminal wants to get through the loopholes, to me they're going to go to the gun show.
No way. If
they know,
if I'm a criminal, I'll just go on the street. If I know that I'm gonna do something, I'll just get it on the streets. I wouldn't go to no gun show. No way.
Because that's the part that I think needs to be improved. When you've got, and then there's another level, which is I think very hard to do on a private sale.
Mm-hmm.
A very good friend of mine passed not last May, but the May before. He died of pancreatic cancer. He had a selection of guns in his little 900 square foot house. He had a safe with approximately, I don't know, 20 to 40 guns. Endless amounts of ammunition. Now, I ended up selling them for his sister who lives in Kentucky, trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I sold them guns, all I had to do, we were sold to a gun store because I didn't want to deal with any backlash or future problems, but it was sold to a gun store in town, which I think is wonderful. They've got some really interesting stuff. And that's all I had to do was to show my ID.
To sell it?
I wrote an invoice, and that was it. But it was through a professional store.
Right.
So I feel comfortable with that feeling that when they sell that gun, there's going to be a check.
It will be. So just to clear something up with the gun show loophole thing, that's only for unlicensed and private vendors. So when you got your big, 6 Hour and Smith and Wesson and those.
But you don't think it'd be good to have a little booth that you go to?
Hold on. Let me finish this. The big vendors that are there that hold these shows, those guys are licensed dealers. If you buy a gun from one of them, you got to fill out all the regular stuff, like everybody else has to. The only way to get around the background check is if Steve Williams is there selling his collection of guns, or James Lee is there selling his collection of guns. That's where the quote unquote loophole is. So we don't have to.
But it'd be
unlicensed
so easy
people
to do, just to get like a little booth that you go to if you're unlicensed, and you check who you're selling the gun to. I mean, honestly, as a responsible gun owner, wouldn't you like that's the point I was trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you like to feel that gun is being sold to a responsible gun owner?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And maybe you cut out the unlicensed people. Look, if you don't have a license, you can't come to the gun show. We got to regulate it.
You see, I don't think there's any need for that. I don't think there's any need for that. If you want to go to a gun show and sell your gun, then I think you should be entitled
licensed
to do that.
Well, without a license?
To sell a gun or to buy a gun?
To sell a gun. Because that's how the background check is for. You can forego the background check.
But that's what I'm saying. You just have a little stall. You fill in the same paperwork, and then you basically whatever it is, this store, so they run the background
right. I think
check.
we agree. So we're just saying that they also have to do
so
the background check.
Even if they're unlicensed, they'd say, okay, I'll sell you this gun, but just go to this stall. We'll run you, your check, and then when you're approved, you get your certificate or whatever it is,
right?
And then you've got it, and you're on your way.
Sure. Well,
then if criminals do go to the guns show, then it's a red flag.
Sure. No, I get it. I get. I'm not against that. I think the loophole. When the gun shows I've gone to don't have a ton of private people there, but there are some.
But and the other part is, even if I have a gun and I want to sell it to you, I think what you should be able to do is to go into a gun store. You pay $50, whatever it is, and you say, okay, this guy's buying the gun. I want it run.
I think you can do that. I don't think that's against the rules. Just folks usually don't do it.
I'm talking about responsibility.
Right.
To me, a responsible gun owner should want to sell their gun to a responsible gun owner.
Yeah. I'm with you.
And I think if that's the case, then there is gun control. But all you're controlling is who you sell it to, and they meet the standards of the people that you're selling it to. And that in itself, I think, is a step in the right direction.
It is. But the outcome, or what they use it for, there's no way to control that.
If you sell a gun to somebody that hasn't had a credit check, to me, that should be a felony.
It should be a felony?
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that.
But I think if a check has been done, all right, then I think I'm fine with that. Just like you do if you go to a regular gun store.
Well, those guys are held to a higher standard, when
I bought my gun, all right, I had to wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes for the check. Well,
see, now, I mean, if you have your CCL or LTC as they call it now, you don't even have to do a background check because we're already vetted. You have your license to carry, then you don't have to go through that. I can just go buy a gun now, but you do have to go through the training, the classes, and
which I think
keeping
is good.
it up. It is good.
So
I was going to touch on one other thing that I think is important about this discussion. Is gun education. Really, truly understanding about guns, because I can't tell you how many times you hear people misspeak about guns, period. Specifically the AR-15. They don't know what they're talking about an AR-15.
I guess what my next subject was.
What?
AR-15.
Let's talk about it. Good segue. The AR-15. So, what do you know about an AR-15? Let's just take the
well, I was going to ask you exactly the same thing.
Oh, you first. I shot it first because I'm aware of what the AR-15 is and what it does. But what from your knowledge? I mean, you are a gun owner. What do you think?
But not to the degree and experience of you.
Yeah,
I do.
Yes.
I only keep it in my house. I'll be honest with you. That's the only time I'd really use it. Because then they're on my patch. I don't carry as such. An AR-15 is not an automatic weapon. All right.
You do what now?
An AR-15 is not. That's how I take it. An automatic weapon.
Automatic weapons are illegal for us to buy.
Right.
We did have a question. A shooter who shot.
Did I pass the test?
Well, that part is correct.
All right. I know it's not an automatic weapon.
That is correct, sir.
My son tells me that all the time.
Yes, it is not.
But can it be manipulated to be?
Manipulated? You can manipulate anything, really. Can it be modified?
Isn't that modified? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because isn't that what happens in Buffalo?
No.
But he modified.
Well, so here's the thing. When you talk about modification of some of these guns, they put what these called bump stocks on these weapons, and basically
that's what the guy in Vegas did, isn't it?
Yeah. What that does is, as you hold the rifle, and it bumps up against your torso or whatever it is, it kind of gives you an automatic feeling, but you still pulling that trigger, because as it's bumping you, it's almost giving it that automatic feel to it, because you're able to kind of get it. The semi-automatic portion of the gun simply means that once one round is shot, it reloads another one ready for fire. So you still have to pull the trigger the multiple times, which is the same for every single gun that's available to just a regular consumer now. It's modeled after the M16, the military gun, the M16, which is an automatic weapon, or was. I don't know if they still even use it. But the AR-15, AR, just so we all know, stands for Armor Light Rifle. Not automatic rifle, not assault rifle, none of that. It stands for Armor Light Rifle, which was the company that had the patent on this design after the M16. Once they lost the patent, other companies started coming out with their own, like the M&P M5 or the M4 or whatever these different types of guns. So they're just an AR style weapon, and they're just called that. They just look scary. That's all. They look scary. They're not very heavy at all, if you've ever held one. And they hold more rounds, but it's not necessarily higher powered or some weapon of war. If you go to war with an AR-15, you will die soon. I'll just say that. Period. But what we hear in the media and everyone else that's not educated about guns is AR-15 is a weapon of war. It's a for mass destruction. It's meant to kill. Isn't every gun meant to kill? Meant to do something? Every gun is. But we exacerbate
there's only one time
ill knowledge in this.
Well, my answer to you on that is we don't live in Houston in the middle of a war.
We don't.
All right. The only time I've seen AR-15 used was on a hog hunt that ripped up one of my houses, and the seller decided, because you know what problems hogs cause in Texas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely ripped up their landscape yard, and they ended up having a hog hunt. Invited some people in for some free hogs.
A lot of people use AR-15s for those hogs.
And that's exactly what they use.
Yep.
That's the only time I've ever seen it used. I haven't seen it used in a school. The part that I really hate is when the answer to the gun problem is, my thoughts and prayers are with you.
Oh, yeah. And you know these fools ain't praying to nobody.
That's the only part that, and I think
that's kind of the coined answer, the response that everybody gives.
Oh, come on, that's
yeah, I'm with you on that.
And that's the part that really, I think, I don't know, but that's the part that really upsets me, because they need to take some steps. I think what you said, I think, is a good thing to do. With the school, one in Indiana, I think if we can do that, I think that's a step in the right direction. I do think that if we do, there is gun control at the moment, but I think they've got to work on the loopholes. And I think if we do that, I think it'll be a step in the right direction. Whether it's an AR-15 or whether it's a Glock 19.
Yeah, any kind of gun, yeah.
And I think that, I don't think it's necessarily, because there's already gun control. There's already gun. That's the biggest fallacy.
Right.
When you really look into it, I think there is gun control.
What kind of gun would you think a teacher would be able to actually have if they were allowed to actually carry firearms?
Well, they wouldn't go with an AR-15.
No, it wouldn't. Wouldn't.
So, but I mean, a Glock 15.
Yeah, a Glock 19, which is a 9mm.
I've got a little
and
9
honestly,
minutes of Smith & Wesson.
I don't know necessarily, Steve, if it has to be a teacher. It doesn't have to be a teacher, but much like the air marshals on the planes, you don't know who they are. You don't have a clue who they are. But you can have someone in that type of position on each campus that's ready to say, hey, this is what you do. You pose as the librarian or the janitor or whatever.
I personally am opposed to a teacher carrying a gun.
Because they be getting pissed off at the students, huh?
No, because if I'm a teenager and I'm going in there to shoot up a school, who am I going to take out first?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Go with the air marshal approach.
You know.
So basically the constables.
Oh, or someone that is designed to be a placeholder on that campus.
I think the training is somebody that's trained for that situation.
Like an air marshal.
You know, but I mean, how would you put him as a janitor?
You can put him it don't matter how you put him, but you don't know who it is. Only the administration knows who it is.
That's pretty cool.
Let the administration.
I don't know how you do them.
Let the administration knows who it is, and that person is just at the school every day, doing their thing, but they're armed to do what it is that they need to do.
Right.
So if some fool comes in, he won't be doing much, not for long.
I think one of the biggest things that you said, which I think is a huge plus, is the lockdown thing.
Yeah.
Because one of the comments that Ted Cruz makes, silly Ted Cruz, was, oh, well, it was the doors. I don't know if it was the doors or not. I mean...
Well, he didn't come in the front, though.
They need to... An investigation needs to be done before people start saying, oh, well, it was the door, or it was this, or it was that, because that's part of the problem at the moment. Everybody's blaming everybody else, and everybody's got a solution to the problem. A full investigation needs to be done under investigation conditions.
Well, supposedly the school district stopped cooperating with the investigation. I read something about that this morning. Do you think raising the age from 18 to 21 would help?
For what?
For buying a rifle.
No, that wouldn't help. Trust me. If a 16-year-old can easily get a gun, raising the stakes to an 18-year-old to a 21-year-old.
I don't think so. As I said to you, I think the rabbit's out the hat.
You think it's too late for all that?
All it does, it's a little bit like, it's a similar situation to the marijuana problem. If you end up, it's going on. All right, let's take prostitution.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you've got prostitution. It's illegal. We know it shouldn't happen, but it's the oldest industry that's out there in the world.
The oldest profession in the books, right?
What do? Do you take the Holland approach? And you put them in brothels
and make it safe.
Make it safe. Make a bit of tax on it.
Right.
Make it safe and all the other good stuff. I know it's not a very good comparison, but that's really what life is around. I mean, Holland is the only place where you can do what you need to do in a brothel. Smoke dope and a policeman can watch it. So that's one of the jokes, with that they say about Holland. Not that I've ever done it myself, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, that's what you can do, but it's government controlled.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's safer for the girls.
Speaking of making it safer for the girl, or making it legal, shall I say? Let me see a funny picture I saw. If I can find it real quick. If not, I'll move on. Oh, well, I can't find it.
No. Can we talk about the next thing? Because I really want to get onto this.
With who?
All right. DUI arrest of Pelosi's husband.
Oh, that was it. Oops. That was a picture we were talking about Holland. Walmart's got those on sale.
It's a shame you can't get that on the screen. DUI arrest for Mr. Pelosi. Now, the question I have for you, Mr. James, if a 21-year-old black guy was arrested for DWI, do you think he's going to be treated the same as what Mr. Pelosi's husband is going to be treated for in a California crash?
You say how should?
Do you think if a 21-year-old black guy driving his car in California, do you think he would be treated the same as Mr. Pelosi's husband? Sorry, Mr. Pelosi.
If he was black?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that he was not arrested. Or was he arrested? Maybe he was arrested and let out on bond.
He was arrested.
Well, I would say that...
because I'll tell you one of the things that sticks out when I read this.
Well,
and you're going to love this.
I don't know if you remember some time back. Man, I forgot the guy's name. He's a politician here in Texas, black guy. His wife got pulled over for supposedly DUI. And, of course, he wanted a pass because of who he was. And he said she wasn't drinking. I don't know what came of it. But I don't know. It's hard to say would he be treated differently. I would say just living in the U.S. as a black man, no, he's not going to experience it the same way. Just because we walk through life differently.
Can you go to the top of this page? Because I want to. There you go. The very top. This is what I don't understand about this article because it's contradictive. The weekend arrest of Paul Pelosi, the husband of U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, on suspicion of driving under the influence, came after the Porsche he was driving was hit by another vehicle in Northern California's wine country, authorities said. How can you be arrested on the suspicion?
Well, that's usually why you're arrested, because he probably refused the breathalyzer.
Is that what they say, the suspicion, because he hasn't been convicted?
Well, it's a suspicion because when you refuse to do the breathalyzer.
As you can tell, I've never been in this position before because I don't drink.
Me neither. Me neither. Now, then that third bullet point says Pelosi could face misdemeanor charges, including driving under the influence and driving with a blood alcohol content level of 0.08 or higher. So that lets me know that maybe he did do a breathalyzer. And his DUI, is that a misdemeanor? I've never been in this situation either, so I don't really know.
And he said he was released early Sunday on a $5,000 bail, record showed. Now, you pay for a good attorney and of who you are. Do you walk out of the...
Oh, yeah, for sure. $5,000 bail. Yeah, so he paid $500 to get out of there. Oh, yeah, it's a Class B misdemeanor. At least in Texas it is. I don't know what it is in California. So apparently this guy was Paul Pelosi was drunk, and the other person was not, because they didn't arrest that other person.
Well, this is what I've got to comment on it. As a public figure, you should be living by a different standard. And I'm saying that as an ex-Olympian. If you're somebody that's a public figure, if you are somebody, one, because I think you should be a role model, and I guess that was the difference as an Olympian in my day when I was a lot better looking than what I am now. But I do feel that you should live at a different standard because you live as a role model. Now, Mr. Pelosi over here should be living as a role model because his wife is a Speaker of the House.
Right.
And that's the part that I think is I think regardless of who you are, you should always be treated the same. And it says here that no injuries were reported, and the 48-year-old driver of the Jeep who hit him was not arrested, because by this, the way it reads, it says the arrest of Paul Pelosi, husband of U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, on suspicion of driving under influence, came after the Porsche he was driving was hit by another vehicle, and it sort of says that basically the other car hit him. I don't know if Pelosi hit the other guy, but why was the other guy let off?
Well,
because of the alcohol content, correct?
Right, of course.
Right. So, but I just feel that you should live by, I know it sounds ironic, but you should live by a different standard. If you're in the limelight, if you're in that, you should be living by a different standard.
I agree.
You know,
I agree with you.
regardless of, you know, who you are and the way you act and what you say. That's why it made me so proud, to be perfectly honest, of the likes of Torval and Dean, who were the 84, you know, Olympic champions. They lived by a different standard. They skated by a different standard.
Well, people nowadays that are famous, they'll say, "Hey, I'm not a role model. I'm not choosing to be a role model." But it's kind of like an indirect kind of effect that you have on people. When folks see you, to your point, you're out in the spotlight. Folks are going to look up to you and imitate what you do and kind of hold you in that higher regard. But if you don't hold yourself in that same way, you could end up 82 years old with a DUI on your record. Absolutely. All right. You want to hit this last one in Canada? What you think about this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Canada temporarily decriminalized some drug possession to tackle abuse problem. Now, only because it's fresh for me, I watched a documentary this weekend about the crack epidemic that took place back in the 80s, 90s, whenever.
The hippie part.
No, not hippie. But when cocaine was coming through, after cocaine was kind of coming into the country so rampantly, and then the crack cocaine ended up getting into the inner cities, into some of the black neighborhoods, and the strong effects that crack has on the system, the body. They say that people end up trying to chase that first high that they got for the rest of their life. That's why they get so addicted to it. But they were locking those people up on crack, locking them up. Now you hear about opioids. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Heroin, you know.
Well, I've experienced the opioids.
Right.
I had 2 knee replacements.
And now,
you can understand why people got addicted to the
yes,
opioids.
Absolutely.
I didn't want them at the finish. No.
Absolutely. So, but now here in Canada, they've got a problem with cocaine use. So they're going to temporarily decriminalize possession of cocaine, some opioids, in order to help to combat the abuse problem, because they know how addictive some of these drugs are. They're still going to be illegal for over a certain amount, because I think at that point they feel like, okay, you got that much, that's more than just personal use. You're going to be selling it or whatever. But they're trying to decriminalize this, that if it's below a certain amount, they're not going to be arrested anymore, because you're really just filling up the jails, and the people that really need help, they're not getting the help that they need. Because quite frankly, I told you, I think drugs should be legal. I think it's a choice. It's your choice to do them. If that's what you choose to do, it's completely up to you. But to put someone in jail for doing drugs, it's kind of a victimless crime. It's your choice to do them, but I think you ought to tax them. Tax the drugs, tax the marijuana, tax the cocaine, tax the heroin, whatever it is. And that's not a stance that everybody takes with it, but it's money that we could use in the economy.
I'm with you on that. Tax the hell out of it.
Definitely tax it. But if you eliminate,
I'd rather them put the taxes of drugs up than my taxes running the business.
Yes, and gas and all that good crap.
Oh,
Yeah. So supposedly it's going to be taking place.
So do you agree
through 2026?
With this,
I think yes, I do. I do agree with it. Because someone's on drugs doesn't mean that they're necessarily a criminal. It's not a good choice, but it doesn't make them a criminal. And some of them just need help. Some of them need help, and filling the prisons with people is not the answer. It really is not the answer. We need more programs to get people help.
I don't think it's solving anything.
It isn't.
Just by putting them in jail and throwing the key away. All it's doing is costing us money.
Costing us money, exactly, because you got to take care of them.
You know.
The humane thing is to care for them, 3 meals in the cot, and that's what's happening.
Medical attention, and
exactly.
That's basically.
And who knows?
We can't get medical attention
outside of prison.
You know what I'm saying? We're paying a ridiculous cost, and then so what we got to do? We just got to do something to get us into prison to get healthcare.
Healthcare, and hey man, sex 3 times a day. A couple times a week maybe. But you're still complaining, right? Oh man.
Robbed this store for $1 just so that we could go to prison to kid.
Oh yeah, some folks that's what they need. They do and commit crime so they can go back into the system. Because it is
that's just nuts.
A place to stay. All right, man. We're approaching 11:30 here, so what we got?
Can we just do one more?
Yeah, sure.
I wanted you to explain something.
Oh, hopefully.
Fed fears to hit mortgage bonds attracting investors. Can you explain that? Because
hold on, let me open that up. Make sure I can understand it. Fed fears. Which one was that?
Through Yahoo.
Was it the?
It was an article. Fed fears hit mortgage bonds attracting investors.
Let me see. Is that the one? Nope, that's not it.
No, that's not it.
There's 2 of them here. The same.
Yeah.
Was that on the list, Steve?
It's not on the list.
Yeah, I don't see that one, Steven.
Let me just send it to you quickly.
Drop it in the Discord so we can see. We did have a question or a comment in the for one of the viewers. The shooter who shot the kids, wasn't his guns obtained legally? Yes, they were.
I thought you was going to say somebody wants the drugs.
Oh, no, someone referenced that. Yes, they were obtained legally. It was a lot of firepower he had, though, but he never should have gotten into that. How many guns
did he have?
They said it was 2 rifles and a handgun, but nothing. When they first reported, they were saying a handgun and possibly a rifle, but there hasn't been any speech of the handgun anymore, so we don't know what kind it was. But he had a lot.
How about the shooting that happened over Memorial Day?
Which one? There was a lot of them.
How many was it?
Apparently, there was a lot.
14?
That's all you hear about now is people reporting gun shootings.
I sent it to your email.
Check your email, yeah.
Because I wanted James to explain that situation.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of it going on. That's kind of the buzz thing right now. Until we get some legislation.
I mean, do you think it's
I think it could be, and quite frankly, we didn't talk about it, but there was a little 10-year-old kid talking to his friend about doing a mass shooting and sent a message to him, and they arrested him. I don't know what they're gonna do with a 10-year-old, but it's like, okay, you intercepted that kid, but you couldn't intercept this other kid.
What do you think motivated that 10-year-old kid?
Watching TV. That's all. It's been pushed out. Oh, I can get on the news. Oh, I can be. I'm telling you, it is. It's crazy, man. I could go to so many different places with that, but I think children watch and see what makes them popular, and feel like, hey, I'm going to be the next whoever the person might be at that time, and unfortunately, that's what we're getting. So.
Don't look at me, huh? Don't look at me. I've usually just binge watch Stranger Things, man. I do not.
Oh yeah. I think, did it come in?
It came in, but it's blank. It's just.
Did you put it in the Discord, the link, Steven?
No, I'm just sending it in regular email.
We can at least talk about it.
Because the Fed, it goes on about the Fed.
And it was a Yahoo one, right?
Yeah. I'll just send it to you again.
The Fed and mortgage bonds. Oh, you said Fed fears hit mortgage bonds? Is that what it was?
That's the one.
This is the Wall Street Journal, but
Hey. Okay, got it.
There you go. So explain to us how this attracts investors.
well, the mortgage-backed securities are what push or drive.
So everybody understands the whole concept of pushing up the interest rates is it slows down inflation, correct?
Pushing up the Fed rate, yes.
Fed rate, right.
Yes.
So then the idea is it slows down and takes the heat out of the economy. And if it's pushed too much, then it can go into recession.
It can.
Right.
Correct. We're in a kind of a unique space now.
Right. So basically, at the moment, we don't know if we're in a bull or a bearish market, correct?
Right.
Right. It's still sort of waving around. If we go into recession, they reckon it'll take, 2 or 3 years to get through it?
Possibly.
To get through it,
yeah.
right? And the stock market at the moment is bouncing around like a I don't know, a ball in a rubber shop.
Definitely.
All right. So basically, with that Fed rate going up, it's making bonds. All right. So when they're printing their money, all right, what happens is it makes more investors put their dollars into government bonds or buy government bonds. Correct?
Yes, they can buy that because the yields are lower.
Right. But basically, what are them government bonds going for at the moment? They can buy them over a time, like a 3, a 5, or a 10 kind of.
Yeah, they vary. Yeah, usually the 10-year Treasury is what they're looking at. And let's see, today.
Just leave it there.
It's up 9 basis points, so it's 2.93 as of today. But the issue is that the
2.93 for
that's the yield. That's the price now for today. That's a 10-year. The 10 years at 2.93.
But that doesn't even cover inflation, does it?
Well, see, the deal with it is now the government owns so many of these. If they get to where they're starting to sell, it just exacerbates the problem. It makes it worse. It just diminishes the value of the bond. If they start to sell what they have.
When I was reading this yesterday and doing my research, what you're saying is exactly what I was going through my head.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm an investor, why would I want to buy a 10-year bond? All right. Because with inflation, it's running at how many percent at the moment?
8.3, I think is what
right.
it was.
And one of the vesting strategies is don't put your money in the bank.
Right.
Put it in something.
That's what we always say.
What are you going to put it in?
Try to put it in bonds and stocks.
But that's what a lot of investors. One of my mentors, who sort of supposed to be helping me, and he does, says we'll put some in stocks, a percentage in bonds, and then keep some cash. So when it's really bearish and at the bottom of the pile, you can go in there and kill it all.
Right.
Well, good luck with that, Bob. I haven't got any cash at all at the moment to basically, use. But then I'm thinking, well, perhaps I should get some bonds. But then I'm thinking, with the bond rates that I've seen, if inflation's running at 8%, what's the point in putting it in bonds?
Well, that's the thing. But the biggest fear is that if the Fed starts to sell their bonds, it'll flood the market. So they're not going to be worth what it might not be the best thing to even put it into the bonds. Unless you're looking at for the long haul.
Fluctuation?
Hmm?
A bond's fluctuating? with price?
Well, they can. Yeah, absolutely. The bonds are
they're
safer.
They're not at a fixed.
They're a safer bet than your stocks. When you're pulling out your the risk is lower in them. But if the Fed starts to sell their bonds, and it'll slash the prices, so that'll and it'll raise the yields as the bond investors they want more compensation for lending money. So mortgage rates and everything could end up going up more, because of course that with the rates where they are now, the housing market has cooled off a bit. But I think probably not until next year will we see any of this.
I still think the reason why I was thinking about this with the bonds, okay, was, am I better off investing in real estate, or am I better off investing in stocks, or am I better off investing in bonds, or am I better off keeping my cash? And the answer I came to was, I'm better off putting it into real estate at the moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
because if the market goes down, it's going to come back up.
I don't think you can lose in real estate.
And then in the event, that's what they say is the biggest, the biggest protection against inflation. And then if I was a first-time home buyer buying a property, even at the interest rates as they are at the moment, I mean, if you're in your lifetime, if I'm 20 or 30 years old, I mean, I'd be choking at the interest rate. But I bought my first house on 18%.
18.
So the people that are younger are thinking, oh, well, now's not the time to buy because they've always seen the low interest rates. But the truth of the matter is, I really feel, I advised somebody yesterday, you're better off buying now, and then if the interest rates go down, you're better off refinancing to get the interest rate down later.
Right.
I mean, some people say we haven't got to the bottom of the stock market. I don't know if you've seen the stock market today. The Dow's down 324 points, S&P's down 45, and the Nasdaq's down 132 as of this podcast. We have a house for sale. I think I told you that, $195,000, needs updating, being on the market for 3 days, and
right.
we've already had 4 offers on the property. So the market's still strong. That's one of my listings in inside the loop. Actually it's just a little bit outside the loop. But it just goes to show, if I'm looking at putting my money into something, and sort of off the cuff, Everett, can you put finviz.com up?
Finviz? Gotcha.
And bring it up on the screen?
We gotta wrap soon. I got a meeting to get to.
And just bring it up to the screen quickly.
It says malware.
Finviz.com. Because I think this is really interesting. FINVIZ.
I already got it.
And then can you bring up the screen?
Yeah.
The little, see where it's got Apple and all that? Close down there. So it's got Apple and Microsoft. Just click that.
Apple and Microsoft.
Bottom right hand corner. It's got a chart where it's all red.
Alright, we've got it.
No, where it's red. Click where it's red. No. The actual screen. No, where it's down. Click the whole thing. That's not it. No. That's not what we wanted. I wanted the FinViz. But FinViz have got if you look at the FinPies where it's got Apple and Google and Amazon, look at this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Everything's down.
Look at that. Everything's red. So if I had money
Looks like
to
Christmas.
invest, look at it. Red is where it's down. Tesla's down. Apple's down. Google's up a little bit.
Amazon's up.
Go figure.
Oh yeah.
So what would you rather do? Buy a house, or would you rather get something like that? And it's that risky.
I don't want to jump in that mess. Not at all.
You know, and what does Warren Buffett say? You buy when there's blood on the streets.
Yeah. Definitely.
But some of the people say it's not at the bottom. It hasn't even got to the point of, and we're not financial advisors, guys. We're just talking about it.
Not at all.
But basically, you know, they think that we need to get to the levels of pre-COVID-19.
The Trump years, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, it's been good discussion, good talk.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys joining us this week.
Yeah. Sorry for being a little bit late.
Oh yeah, we'll be good.
Appreciate you getting back.
Absolutely.
And if you want to come and join us on the Texas Real Estate Show tomorrow, we just talk about real estate. Come and join us tomorrow at noon. But we want to thank you for joining the Olympian Table. We appreciate you all talking about all the things that we think are relevant outside of real estate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We enjoy it.
All right, guys. Have a good week till we see you. Oh, next Wednesday I'm not here. I'm in hospital.
No, okay. Well, we'll
so
figure something out.
You'll have to figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Get one of your gun friends here.
Oh, we'll see.
Or unless you want me to do it from hospital.
Oh, no.
I can do it from hospital.
No, you rest. You get whatever you need to do.
I'll show you some nice nurses.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
All right, sir. We'll see you.
All right. Take care.
All
Have
right,
a good week,
care.
guys.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.